Hi everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Hallmark Plus More, where we watch and talk about shows, movies, mysteries, Hallmark ornaments, and anything else that floats our boat. So today I'm going to be reviewing Tracker Season 2, Episode 19. So before I get into the episode, I just want to say thank you to everybody who likes my videos, subscribes to my channel, leaves me comments. I appreciate it so much. If you have any comments about this video, you can leave them below. I love hearing from everybody. So getting into this episode, we see the flashback and it shows Coulter with his sister Dory talking about a box of their dad's things. So remember, his dad was really paranoid, took them off the grid, and then Coulter has a lot of suspicion and questions surrounding his father's death. So definitely, he's interested in seeing what's in this box. And then another flashback was Rennie, kind of with her shady new client, right? So we definitely are going to see both of those come into play. So it starts out with Coulter talking to his sister about the box, talking about how dad was paranoid, Coulter thinking maybe the research that he was doing could have got him killed. His sister doesn't think so, but she's like, here's the box. I know you want to go through it yourself. Let me know if you have any questions. And then, of course, Coulter gets a phone call, and you're like, yep, it's a case. And it's Rennie, and she's she's a little scared because her new client, Leo, his assistant Francie went missing. So, they want Coulter to help. And obviously, Leo is loaded and he's willing to pay the fee and whatever it costs to get his assistant back. So he heads to Seattle to meet Rennie. Find out that she was last seen in her hotel room. Her purse and her phone are there. She must have escaped somehow through the balcony, or somebody must have took her. They've been working day and night on this new launch for this new company. So they think maybe it had something to do with that, something or someone who wants to damage the launch or hurt them. Then they get a ransom video. Three things: no cops, don't find me, and you have 1 hour to transfer $5 million to this account. Leo, please help me. So she looks a little beat up and she looks scared, obviously. So Leo doesn't have any physical relationship with his assistant, but he cares for her a lot because she has been there with him for years setting up this launch, and she does everything for him. So he has a deep care for her, even though there's nothing physical. So he will do anything to get her back because he really has that friendship with her. So he's calling around trying to get this transfer. But as she was saying this in the video, what I thought was odd was she had a sign around her neck on just like cardboard paper, and it just said greed. So I was like, okay, this is personal. I feel like this is going to come back later on. Like, why would she be wearing a sign that said greed and then have those, three things that she says? So I was curious about that from the beginning. Of course, he calls Bobby. Bobby finds the address of who sent the video. However, 33 minutes is left on the timer to transfer the money, and he's 35 minutes away. So of course, Coulter like shoots out like driving like a maniac to get there. Gets there, finds the chair, finds the video camera. Obviously, no Francie. Sees blood on the back of the wall and a bullet hole. But when he takes out the bullet, there's no blood, or I'm sorry, there's no hair, or there's nothing on the bullet. So he's like, okay, this is a setup, right? But he does find the greed sign. And on the back of the greed sign, it says, you broke the rules. So again, my hunch was this was personal, and it is, because now greed, you broke the rules. So somebody's having it out for Leo, maybe since Francie is close to Leo and relies on her for so much. She knows so much about the launch too, because she's so close with Leo with business. She's there with him 24/7. So they, dig into his background, and Rennie, obviously fills in some blanks. His co-founder was a man named Sheldon Grimes, and Leo fired him last week. So obviously he was upset about that. He's going through a nasty divorce too, so he's very vindictive. So it really could be him because remember, Rennie helped her client Leo get the dirt on somebody, and it was dirt on Grimes. So now, right, Grimes is like, okay, you fired me and you threatened me with stuff, right? Because you got dirt on me. So Coulter goes to the townhouse, finds that he's got a yacht, goes to the yacht. Um, Sees blood, knows that he's been there. When he goes downstairs, he sees on the bed photos of a battered woman, a letter from a PI. So it definitely sounds like he has history of mistreating women and getting away with it. That's probably part of the dirt that Rennie helped get up on Grimes to kind of say, I'm firing you, don't fight it because I got this stuff on you. However, Grimes seems like a bad person. Anybody who disrespects or batters or beats up on women has no respect for them and gets away with it because they have money and power just sickens me. So, I mean, I don't think Grimes is a good person. However, they're just setting it up too easily that Grimes is the person doing this. And we haven't found Grimes yet. So why would there be blood in Grimes' yacht if he was the one doing all this? So I'm a little suspicious. Again, I don't like the Grimes character from what they're showing. But Leo seems a little sketchy to me too. He just seems very snobbish, like he has a lot of money and he knows it. So even though we're finding out Grimes is a terrible person, hurting women, and getting away with it, having all this money and power, it seems like Leo has a lot of power too, and money. So, and he knew this probably about Grimes. They've been friends forever. So I think it's kind of a backstabbing move to fire somebody a week before you go into a launch with this brand new company that's going to make a lot of money. So it seems like Leo kind of did a slimy thing there. Even though Grimes was not a good person, it's hard for me to believe that Leo didn't know he was abusing this woman. It's never determined in this episode, but I just feel like Leo and Grimes are kind of slimy. But at this point, we really want to find Grimes since that's who we're pinning all this on, right? And then Bobby goes into his computer because, Coulter finds his computer in the yacht and he's got all of this footage on Rennie, like photos and background information. So now we're like, okay, Grimes knows Rennie was the one who dug up all his dirt. So now he's going after Rennie. And of course, we see her get kidnapped in the preview from last week. So she gets kidnapped. So now Grimes has Francie and Rennie. So we're like, okay, I'm thinking they're going to probably keep Rennie. I don't see them keeping both, right? Because we know Rennie's going to be the bigger target. She's the lawyer, she can get access to money, and I think Francie was just a move to get Leo's attention. But we'll find out when they kidnap Rennie. They actually shoot her boyfriend Elliot, so we're hoping he's okay. Obviously, Shaw finds Elliot, gets him to the hospital. But yeah, so then you find out they try to track Rennie through GPS. They find the truck or the car that they kidnapped her in, and then he looks around and Coulter finds Francie. Sorry, she's still bound next to some dumpsters. She's a little shook up, but she's okay. So she's like, "Do you know who did this?" And she's like, "No, they had ski masks." Which we see later when they have Rennie. So obviously she doesn't know who they were. Could they be working for Grimes? And then Francie's like, yeah, Grimes said Leo will betray him, that Leo's not a creator, but a ruthless businessman. So Francie says before Leo fired Grims kind of saw it coming. It was like, yeah, Leo's going to betray me. So I thought that was interesting on why Francie said that, as if Grimes knows what kind of person Leo is. Which, like I said, I think they're both slimy businessmen, but so then they find out from the FBI because Now the FBI is involved because Rennie was, kidnapped and Elliot was shot. So the FBI were able to track it down to a felon named Jimmy who botched a murder for hire scheme. So that's why he's on their radar. Apparently, he was hired and didn't go through with it and kind of botched it. So they're like, okay, they let Francie go because Rennie's the higher target, but they're probably going to kill her because this guy's a murder for hire. So you see Rennie in the basement. She sees another person. So this is kind of a shock. We know Francie was kidnapped and released, and now they have Rennie, but now we're seeing another man. So I'm like, who's that? So you find out it's Grimes, and he's talking to Rennie, like, yeah, Leo's behind it all. And Rennie's like, no, 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 like I don't think he did it. He was genuinely concerned for Francie. Like, I don't think he's behind it. But Grimes obviously wasn't behind it because he's been bound and gagged in this basement too. So you're like, what's going on, right? And then before they can talk any further, the guys come down and shoot Grimes in the head. So you're like, okay, well he's dead. It's not him. And now they're ready to, kill Rennie. So definitely like takes a turn because the whole episode you think it's Grimes, which I agree Grimes is a terrible person, but I'm not surprised he's not behind it because they kept pushing it. Remember, anytime you watch shows or movies and they show you early on who they think is the suspect and they give you all this evidence, most of the time there's a twist and it's not. So I'm not surprised it was Grimes. I am surprised that he gets killed, right? Because I figured they would want to pin it on him, which you later find out they do want to pin it on him, but they kill him. So, right before they're gonna get ready to kill Rennie, he kind of sees Coulter, and Coulter saves Rennie. So you're like, okay, now Rennie's saved, Francie's saved, right? What's going on? What's really going on? Is Leo really behind it? Because he looked genuinely concerned that Francie was kidnapped. So I just don't see him kidnapping Francie. But if it's not Grimes and we know Leo seems kind of sketchy and shady, like what's going on? So the next scene is you see Franny, or Francie, sorry, and she is knocking on Leo's door and then she pulls out a gun. So it turns out Francie was behind it. Once Bobby starts doing some work on Francie, and you find out she's very smart. She graduated from MIT and she changed her name. And apparently, her brother Cyrus did a created some company or some software, and Leo took it, stole it from him, didn't give him any profit, said he created it, basically stole his idea, didn't give him any money, and just kind of ran with it. And Cyrus felt so betrayed and felt so bad. Apparently, he committed suicide. So his sister, Francie, has blamed Leo for it all because he stole his idea and led him to suicide. So this is her revenge. So Leo's like, do you want money? And that almost like got Francie even madder. Like, no, I don't want money. Look what you made my brother do. Look at how you destroyed our family. So she's like holding a gun against Leo. This is personal. She's worked for him under a different name for years, plotting this revenge to discredit him, destroy them, merge with this new company. So, I mean, Cyrus trusted you. You destroyed our family. You don't know what it did to us. So, obviously, Leo's like, what do you want from me? And she's like, I want you to admit that you didn't create it, that you stole the creation from my brother. And if you're such a good person, you die or Rennie dies. You decide. So, he's down on his knees, right? And Francie is obviously very upset. I don't really think it matters what he says. I think Francie is going to kill Leo regardless. But since he's kind of sleazy, I don't doubt for a second he says, save Rennie. I think he says, save me. We don't see that scene. We see Francie say, I'm giving you a choice. And right before he goes to kill Leo, the FBI, barge into the room, tell her to drop her gun. She doesn't. It seems like even though she's caught, she still wants to kill Leo, and the FBI actually have to shoot Rancy because she didn't drop the gun. So Coulter saves Rennie. The FBI comes in and saves Leo. Um, and, Rennie sees Coulter later after all this and says, "Thank you for saving my life. I just, Elliot is okay. He's recovering in the hospital, so that's good. He's still alive." And then Coulter and Rennie kind of have this discussion about Leo. Like, did you really think that he would save you? And Rennie tells Coulter, he chose to save me. Like, he's a good guy. And Coulter doesn't think so. Coulter's like, "You really think that?" And Rennie's like, "Well, I tend to believe he's a good guy," right? She tends to believe that he's good. I think since he's Rennie's client still, I feel like Rennie is going to feel better with herself thinking that he's a good guy. But Coulter thinks the same thing that I think, that in that moment, I think he told Francie, "Save me, kill Rennie." Because you see the two guys say, "We're getting order, we're going to kill the lawyer in a couple minutes." So I feel like that kind of proves that Leo's scum and he was like, "Save me." And then he admits to Francie he stole her brother's idea, all for greed. And then later, Rennie goes, "Well, he didn't really steal his idea, right?" So I feel like right then, like, what's the truth? Did Leo just say that because a lunatic has a gun in his head? Did he just say what she wanted him to say? Or did he really steal her brother's idea, right? Because he's telling Rennie, "No, that was my creation. I didn't steal his idea." But so I guess it kind of leads you to interpretation on how you personally feel about Leo, because we see both sides. Rennie says Leo said he didn't steal his idea. He admits to Francie, of course, he thinks he's going to get killed, that he did steal her brother's idea. However, if somebody has a gun to your head, I think I would say what they want me to say. You know what I mean? You say what they want to hear because you're afraid for your life. So I cannot put myself in Leo's shoes, but I do think he's a shrewd businessman. I think most people that have a ton of money at some point or another have to make tough choices. Again, that's just my opinion. I know there's good people out there. I know there's good millionaires out there and good billionaires out there, but there's also a lot of people who have money and power who make terrible decisions and, destroy other people for their own gain. So I know that's out there too, and I think Leo's one of those people. But make your own assumptions. This is a judge-free zone on my channel here, so think what you want about Leo. However, we might see him again because he is still Rennie's client, and Rennie is tending to believe the good, which if I were Rennie, I'd want to believe the good. He's my client. I don't want to think he's a sleazeball, I want to think he's gonna try to protect me. But I feel like Coulter kind of gave her doubt, like, okay, well, as Coulter is, we'll just leave it at that. And then Coulter goes through the box by himself, the box about his dad's things, and he finds a little hidden piece of paper, very tiny, small piece of paper, in a notebook, kind of hidden, and all it's on there is a phone number. So of course he calls the phone number, and it says the number's disconnected. And that's kind of end of scene, end of episode. So I thought it was a great episode, very intense. Like, I like to see where it was going because I didn't think it was Grimes. So I was excited to see like who's behind it and why. And I thought it had a great ending. I'm so glad Elliot is okay. I think it's terrible that they killed Grimes, though. I mean, they're pinning it on him, but he's not a good person, but I don't wish anybody to die. I want justice. So if he really does batter women, I want him to pay for it. But obviously he paid it with his life. They killed him. But I'm excited for next week. Now, keep in mind, next week is the season finale. So I'm sure there's going to be some cliffhangers. And in the preview for next week, it shows they're going to find out some things about his dad. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe they're going to find out what he was working on or possibly what led to his death. So that's going to be exciting to see because they kind of, leave you with questions about his dad and his past and his family. I wonder, they don't show this in the previews, but me personally, I'm wondering if he's going to ask for a favor with Bobby and look into the phone number. Yes, the phone number was disconnected. Yes, this was years ago because his dad died years ago. So I'm wondering if he's going to say, "Hey, Bobby, can you do me a personal, favor, a side job? Look into this phone number and see if that gives him any information about his dad." Now, again, this is totally my opinion. They didn't show this. But he's friends with Bobby. They help each other out personally. I just feel like that's a no-brainer. I could be completely wrong. We'll have to see next week, but I feel like that could help. Like, why was the phone number hidden in his things? Who had the phone number last? And see if that leads to, any information on what his dad was working on. So I think they left that as let's explore that next week. So again, totally my opinion, but I hope they do that because I am very intrigued and excited to see next week about the season finale. So I hope you enjoyed my review. If you have any comments, you can leave them below and I will see you next time. Bye.